It started as a dare. Every town has its urban legends, and our small town was no different. Ours was about a vengeful spirit named Eliza, who was said to haunt the old abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. Legend had it that she was a young woman who had been wronged and murdered by her fiancé over a century ago. The story went that if you stood at the gates of the mansion at midnight and called her name 3 times, she would appear and seek revenge on those who summoned her. We were a group of 5: Jason, the ringleader, Sarah, his girlfriend, Mark, the skeptic, Lily, the quiet one, and me, the reluctant participant. We'd gathered at Jason's house on a Friday night, the air filled with excitement and trepidation. Jason had heard about the legend from his older brother, who claimed it was just a story to scare kids. But Jason wanted to prove it was all nonsense. "Come on, guys, it's just a stupid story," Jason said, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Who's up for a little adventure?" We all hesitated, but Jason's confidence was infectious. One by one, we agreed to go, although I felt a knot of unease forming in my stomach. We set off just before midnight, armed with flashlights and our phones. The night was eerily quiet, the full moon casting an otherworldly glow over the landscape. The mansion loomed ahead, its windows like dark, empty eyes staring at us. We stood at the wrought iron gates, the air heavy with anticipation. Jason took the lead, positioning himself at the front of the group. "Eliza," he called out, his voice echoing into the night. "Eliza, Eliza." For a moment, nothing happened. We all exchanged nervous glances, relief starting to wash over us. Then suddenly the temperature dropped, and a cold wind whipped through the trees. The gate creaked open on its own, and we heard a faint, sorrowful wail from within the mansion. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "It's just the wind," Mark said, though he didn't sound convinced. We ventured inside, the floorboards creaking under our weight. The mansion was a decaying relic, with peeling wallpaper and cobwebs hanging from the ceiling. The sense of dread grew stronger with each step we took. Jason led us to the grand staircase, where the legend said Eliza had met her demise. As we stood there, a sudden chill enveloped us. The air grew thick, and we heard footsteps echoing from the second floor. A shadowy figure appeared at the top of the stairs, her eyes glowing with malevolence. It was Eliza. "Who dares disturb my rest?" she hissed, her voice a ghostly whisper. We froze, unable to move or speak. Eliza's form began to descend the stairs, each step sending a jolt of fear through our bodies. Jason tried to speak, but no sound came out. It was as if the spirit had stolen our voices. Eliza reached the bottom of the stairs and glided towards us, her eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and rage. "You have summoned me, and now you must pay the price!" Sarah screamed, breaking the spell. We turned and ran, but the doors slammed shut, trapping us inside. Desperation set in as we realized we had no way out. Eliza's laughter echoed through the mansion, a chilling sound that sent shivers down our spines. "We have to banish her," Lily said, her voice shaking. "We need to find out how." I remembered reading something about banishing spirits in one of my grandmother's old books. "Salt," I said, my mind racing. "We need salt to create a barrier. It can trap spirits." "Where are we going to find salt in here?" Mark asked, panic rising in his voice. "The kitchen," I replied. "There has to be some in the kitchen." We made our way to the kitchen, dodging falling debris and Eliza's ghostly form. The kitchen was a mess, but we found a container of salt in one of the cupboards. We poured it into a circle on the floor, just as Eliza appeared in the doorway. "You cannot escape," she snarled, her form becoming more menacing. "Everyone inside the circle!" I shouted. We huddled together, the salt circle our only protection. Eliza approached, but she couldn't cross the barrier. Her rage intensified, and she began to wail, a sound that pierced our ears and shook our very souls. "We need to send her back," Lily said, her voice barely audible over the wailing. I racked my brain, trying to remember the banishment ritual. "We need to speak to her, acknowledge her pain, and tell her to move on." Jason, finding his voice again, spoke up. "Eliza, we are sorry for disturbing you. We understand your pain and suffering. Please move on and find peace." Eliza's wailing subsided, and her form began to waver. "You understand?" she asked, her voice softer, more human. "Yes," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. "We are truly sorry." Eliza's form grew fainter, and she looked at us with a mix of sadness and relief. "Thank you," she whispered, before fading away completely. The mansion grew silent, and the oppressive weight lifted from the air. We cautiously stepped out of the salt circle, our bodies trembling with relief and exhaustion. We made our way out of the mansion, the night air feeling refreshingly warm. As we walked back to town, we vowed never to speak of what had happened. The legend of Eliza had become terrifyingly real, but we had managed to survive. We had learned a valuable lesson about the power of urban legends and the importance of respecting the unknown, and we never dared to summon a spirit again.